Hey, welcome to the Rustic Compass. I'm your host, Will Finch, and I want to say thank you for joining me. And hopefully you enjoy the content that I provide. Um, so I was here working on some music, and it really got me thinking how wonderful and beautiful music is. It really resonates, I think, with just about everybody on earth, really. It's there for the good times, the bad times, and all the in between. But more so when you can understand music on a level of frequency. So I have a background in music production, and I got my degree and everything, and music production, and I DJ and do photography in this channel, and just a bunch of other stuff. I dibble dabble in just about everything creative. I think it's just part of who I am, really. But I got to thinking about all the hard times I've ever been through. And the only thing sometimes in some of those times, the only thing I had was music. And I think that's why I have such a strong pull when it comes to music and learning it and deep diving. I've been down the rabbit holes. It's just something I do. But, I work on music and I just listen to the beauty of it. And no matter how you're feeling each day, the same song could absolutely have a different meaning each day to you. And I find that to be a very unique thing. Along with, it's absolutely the universal language of the world. It doesn't matter. You could be on a dance floor and everyone's jamming out to the same song, but nobody speaks the same language. And it kind of goes back to that vibrational frequency thing. There's been lots of studies on different frequencies, healing frequencies, just a bunch of that stuff. And certain types of music are used for certain things, whether we like to think it or not, on a kind of a deeper level. I see that as when I DJ, I can I'll be playing bangers one after another, or just I see the shift of the crowd, maybe going from an energetic to, they're looking a little bit tired. I can slow them down psychologically through the frequency and everything of just choice of songs. So I got to thinking, I was like, man, there's got to be some crazy connection here. And in some cultures, or even some people think music is the first of noblest crafts that one can obtain, or shall I say, the first and noblest of sciences. Even Plato himself thought it was, he considered it the moral law, because it gave soul to the universe and beauty and life to everything around it, or involved with it, I guess. So, some of these really astonished or well sought after philosophers and things, they seen a particular thing with all that. So I kind of applied that kind of stuff to my own life. When I'm creating music, think of it in kind of, I don't want to say mathematical, but it really is. You only got 12 notes. Of course, there's 88 notes on a keyboard, but they're just repeating every 12 notes. And each octave basically doubles if you give it a frequency number. So each note actually has an assigned frequency that that particular note creates. And the more you go up an octave, the more that number doubles, which is kind of interesting because it all correlates. You're probably wondering, well, Will, what are you talking about? Well, in music, you can create really harmonic things and make it sound beautiful and sweet and full, and then you can also add dissonance or distortion or something, in a creative realm. And I kind of apply that to life, right? So when you're going through some stuff, or maybe things just feel like they're just bashing you or clashing with you all the time, it's just like, man, I just cannot, things just aren't working out. Well, if you look at it on a frequency level, that might be because the things around you are actually creating dissonance, or chaos, or whatever it is you want to call it. In music, it's a process where, say, you have just a regular sine wave. You're up and down, little peaks and valleys, right? Back in early sciences that we were taught. So when you create dissonance, it's basically two sine waves that are off. They're not on the same frequency, right? So your peaks and your valleys are clashing and canceling out and creating a bunch of nasty stuff. And sometimes that's done in a creative way to create beautiful things. However, in life, you can apply that to, well, let me go back to the harmony part, right? So you got harmonies, which is the same sine wave, but you got complementing ones that maybe are doubled in maybe, thirds or whatever of, the rate of them is complementary to the original sine wave, right? So when I look at life, I look at that as a frequency thing, right? When things are going well and everything's, seem like it's going almost too good, maybe you're on just that vibrational frequency of, the right thing. And maybe if you're feeling the clash and stuff, a lot of pushback maybe, that's just that dissonance. And you can absolutely change all that stuff. That's what's crazy about it. And I just find that to be a really unique experience in my own life. Because I've had some ups and I've had many downs, and, music was always there. So, and I want to be able to share that with the world, and maybe one day you guys will hear some of it. Or just watch me DJ, But back to the point is that you have to align yourself. And when I say align, make your sine wave being you, make that harmonize with things. Or think of it like this. Say you need or you want a promotion at your job, or you want to buy a new car or something. You have to put yourself and align yourself in those in a manner that manifests itself. And it's a really interesting concept, but I've seen it happen in my own life where, I do all the hard work. I get all my equipment, for this and my studio, and I'm just doing these things, and sure, things aren't lining up quite yet, in some aspects, but I'm aligning myself to my future goals, right? So, I just keep pushing forward, and, things just start happening. And sometimes you're just like, man, how's this actually happening? Because sometimes you got to take that time to reflect, I think. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how all that works, really. You're probably like, well, what made you think of this? Well, I've had a lot of things going on lately. I don't know if you guys watched my last video or whatever, but I went on a hike yesterday. Had a good time. We took some pictures, seen the super moon and everything. And then I also, the last weekend, I went to Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. Took some, footage. Had a good time. Just creating content, having a blast. Doing something I enjoy. Along with doing music and stuff and everything. And then, bam, I get this opportunity, which you guys will see here soon, I think. I get to travel to Florida here soon and partake on, we'll say, some projects. Definitely gonna be doing some video, and I might even be DJing. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see how it all goes, But all these things have kind of lined up, You just gotta. And sometimes the opportunities and things are around you. You just haven't seen them yet because you haven't aligned your perspective or your vision quite to match them. Because a wise man once told me, energy never gets destroyed. So what is it? Where's it go? It's so everything's always there. It's just in a different form or fashion of some sort. So it made me wonder. I was like, man, well, if it never gets destroyed, it's always there. So, well, just align yourself with things and, it'll manifest at some point. Now, granted, that takes some talent to do, and it's a learned skill for sure. You got to break habits, old habits, man. Those things suck, and I assure you, I've had to break more bad habits than I even care to admit. But it's life. We all go through, things. We have bad habits. We have good habits. You just got to get rid of the stuff that really isn't serving you anymore. And it's okay to get rid of old stuff or old ways, because new ways require different things. So, and I get back to this music thing, man. I really enjoy working with people, and you get to see the creative process, which I think is a very beautiful thing, especially seeing other artists and stuff work together, man. That's where the magic happens. And then, the final song comes out, and then, everyone gets to enjoy that. But I think the real magic is in the process of making, right? And that goes for anything. Making these videos, granted right now I'm by myself, but this upcoming opportunity, which could be a big deal, or it could be nothing, but I got to be able to go and do it just to see, sometimes you have to make that jump, and those jumps can definitely be scary sometimes. But, I look at this particular one as, well, I got to go hang out with some cool dudes, friends, old friends, and we're going to be doing some cool stuff. So if it don't turn out to be something, which I actually do believe it will, we're just going to be hanging out doing some cool stuff. And we're going to be videoing it so everyone else can see. But I do believe it's pretty good stuff going on. But you'll see that next week and the week after that probably. But yeah, man, making music really kind of, I think, was kind of the thing that kept my life together. So I want to say that, and if you don't, there's a bunch of different types of music out there too that may not be your norm. I dare you to venture out and try listening to something different. You know, uh, who knows? Maybe you end up liking it. Maybe not. It's okay. It's okay if you don't like it. Uh, it all just depends on what resonates with you at that time. It's just something that'll help you get through things, I think. But I'm excited that we went to Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue. I ain't been there in quite a while, actually. And then I went on a hike. That was nice. That was one thing that I did for to get out of the studio here. I got to enjoy some nature. I took some videos and stuff. I had a good time. I was cracking myself up, really. If you haven't watched the video, go over there and watch it. But I got to be out in nature, which in its own essence, is on its own vibrational frequency. And, everything at the core of, literally at the core of everything, we're just a bunch of atoms and molecules, right? And by no means am I a scientist of any kind. But we're all a bunch of atoms and molecules vibrating at a certain frequency, right? Our whole body, it's hard to fathom, but it's actually just a bunch of molecules vibrating at a certain frequency. Same with that cup or this computer or whatever it is, right? So if you look at it that way, mushrooms, trees, plants, they all have certain vibrational frequencies, which is a really unique, cool thing, Well, I guess it's not really unique if everything has it, but to think about, I guess. So, what if, what if? I think that's the beauty of it all, really. We can ask what if, and sometimes, if you just study some of this stuff sometimes, or even just, think about it, on your own time, do some meditation maybe. I enjoy meditating. It helps me calm down because my brain's always going crazy. But man, it's crazy. I work on music quite often, and sometimes I zone myself out working with certain frequencies, and some frequencies I don't even hear, but I can feel it. So, it's got to be doing something at a molecular level. Well, in fact, it is. It's been proven that, it heals some things. Frequency does heal. So, if you're going through something in life, man, of course, hard times never last. We all do know that. We may not always accept that, but, just think about it like, man, why is everything hurt or, not going my way? Well, sometimes to make progress, it has to go that way. But also, the way I like to look at it anyway, is, well, maybe I'm just not aligned right. And to come to that realization, and I assure you it was learned the hard way, like most things I do. But, they're lifelong learnings. So it's all right. But I just want to share that with you guys today, and hopefully that resonates with some of you, and some of you may not even care, and that's okay too. But man, life's good sometimes, and sometimes it's not. But we're definitely going to go on some adventures here soon, and I'm going to show you guys some cool things. And I just thank each and every one of you that watch any of my stuff at all, really. Thanks for giving it the time of day, You didn't have to do that. But, yeah, man, we're going to definitely go take some photography, or do some photography. I guess it'd be more of taking photos, huh? We're going to do some videos, We're definitely gonna play some music because that's part of my daily ritual. It sets the mood. Think about that one song that you're always happy to listen to, right? And sometimes when you're sad, you listen to certain songs. Well, from a music producer's standpoint, I can evoke those emotions. Oh, my computer went dead. I can absolutely evoke those emotions and just how I write something. I can write it with a certain emotion and chords and all these other things. If you're not musically, my brain went dead. But no, if you're not musically inclined, it's okay. But you do experience the feelings from the music, whether you're inclined or not. You get out on dance floor, listen to some maybe EDM or two-step into some country, or you're just getting down and dirty on some good old hip hop. I like all of it. So it all has its experiences and its cultures and its emotions, and and you can really, when you start to look at life that way, it's really interesting, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, are these things happening to me, or are they happening for me? Or, a long time ago, I really asked myself this, and I don't know what, well, I do kind of know, and I'll get to that story a whole lot later. That'll be a whole episode. But I got to thinking, and I was like, man, are my own thoughts my own? And that could be a really deep, dark subject for some people, I got to thinking, I'm like, man, are these thoughts that I have mine, or were they taught, learned, or even, planted mustard seeds from somebody else? It could be a learned thing from when you were a kid, or, maybe you liked a band because, I relate this to music, you like a band or just a sport or whatever it is because your friend liked it, right? When you get down to that deep of thinking or consideration of things, man, it makes you really wonder, and it opens up the world to, like, man, do I really actually like doing this? Was this my thought? Why did I become a certain type of way, or whichever way, it's like, man. And then this veil just opens up of just everything. It's a really beautiful thing. And I really do challenge you guys to kind of dig deep and figure that out, if it even sounds remotely interesting to you, or even resonates with you. It's just like, man, because I got to thinking, I'm like, man, do I really, like, was this my idea, or did someone say something and now I'm adding to it, or whatever the case was? Or was this genuinely my idea and is something I'm happy about, or was it influenced or persuaded? Because I guess both of them kind of similar things, but you got to ask yourself that sometimes, because it all comes from a time of where I was being manipulated, and I do believe there's a positive manipulation and a negative. I definitely don't ever condone a negative. That's just, I think, evil. However, sometimes, and it's kind of weird to even say, but the positive manipulation sometimes helps people out, maybe get through some things, a whisper in someone's ear, because sometimes, man, people won't do things or even listen to you unless you make it really kind of feel like it was their idea. They won't give it any value unless they thought they'd come up with it. And that may not always be the case for everyone, obviously. This is just generally speaking. But, it's crazy. Think about all these things. It's just a lot to take in sometimes, and I think about that when I make music. And like, what do I want to evoke in people, or am I just making music right now? Like, is that something that's coming from deep inner of my own inner self, or am I trying to make it for someone else? I think that's a battle that artists and stuff do have with themselves, because they want to make things for people, because ultimately, the listeners are the end goal. However, sometimes you could be making music your entire life for you, and maybe it doesn't catch on because it just wasn't for everyone else. It just depends. It's just crazy the amount of just healing that music has done for me. Anyway, I think it's just been great to think about, and I'd really like to know your guys' opinions and experiences and stuff with all this, and kind of how music got you guys to where you are, or got you through something. Or I'd love to hear your stories, because boy, do I have a bunch of them, and we got a whole lot of more episodes that we were going to do, and you guys are going to hear a lot of them. So once again, I thank everyone for joining here with me today, and I hope you're enjoying the Rusted Compass. More will come. It's just going to be a good time, and we're going to definitely go on some adventures here soon. So buckle up. We're going to take the taco out, and we're going to go down to Louisiana, visit a friend, and then head over to the East Coast. The East Coast. And we got some surprises for you guys out there. So, yeah, man, I hope something I said tonight resonated with you. If it didn't make any sense, then hey, then I guess it didn't make any sense. Feel free to ask a question too. Maybe I can elaborate on some things, but I love talking to people. So yeah, until next time, we'll see you guys later.